going to heave one. There's a flag. Beckham's one-handed catch. How in the world?
Oh, my goodness.
And Brandon Carl is back there. I mean, he is insane. How do you make that catch?
Oh, my goodness.
Let's go. Welcome into the Fantasy Football MVP Sports and News Podcast. My name is Tyler Johnson, and with me, as always, is Ryan Elke. And Ryan, I know that you just went to opening day. It just opened up for Milwaukee here in Wisconsin, along with everybody else that's having their opening days within these couple weeks. How much fun did you have with that 60-degree weather?
Best way to explain it is like Christmas when you're like 8 years old. It was awesome. We had a great time. I actually got to. This is our third year in a row. It's kind of a tradition we're gonna make. Third year in a row going. And this year I was actually able to witness the first pitch.
Okay. Got in time?
Yep. And I just baseball being back makes me smile. I'm like more cheerful, more happy. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Plus the walk, like Lorenzo Cain robbed a home run to win the game.
That was awesome.
It's a great start to the year.
What an opening day. And you were tailgating also, and the weather was perfect. I wrote a comment on Facebook, and I said, you have opening day, Cain robs a home run, and it's perfect 60-degree weather. And people on there were just bashing me because they're like, 60-degree weather, because it's kind of South people. I'm telling you, if I could live in 60-degree weather year-round, it'd be perfect. And it's perfect baseball weather.
I switched in the shorts halfway through tailgating.
That's amazing.
I couldn't believe it. I did bring a pair, though. I was like, just in case. I don't know how warm it's going to be. I heard it was going to be pretty nice. I ended up going into the game with just a really thin, like Brewers hoodie type thing. It's like a shirt basically with sleeves and like a little tiny hood on it, and then with shorts. So I was really comfortable. It was nice. And
then the roof was open.
It was closed.
Was it?
I was like, that's what we were saying. And like, why wouldn't it be open? It's projected to be 60 degrees out, and the ball probably flies a little better with it closed. They probably wanted some more fireworks on opening day, which whatever.
Okay. And they're on right now, playing against Cincinnati. So
playing against Cincinnati. Hopefully they can go start the year 5-1.
And Bryce Harper, I heard, got booed today. So going back to DC.
No, I would have guessed that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he sent out like a little tweet saying that he figured that it was going to happen. But
yeah,
baseball is baseball. It's so much fun to watch all these teams going. It's not a sprint. A lot of people like to jump off into their conclusions of baseball.
It's a grind.
It is a grind, and it is something where even if your team starts doing bad, it swings. Baseball is all about swings, all about momentum. So it's a fun game to watch. I know a lot of people get bored of it, but it's just something that grows on you. So
I like the slow paced action. Honestly, it's like watching a real life chess game. I feel that's what baseball is.
Yeah, and just playing it feels that way. I mean, when you play baseball, it goes by so fast. But
much better when you play it for the people that don't like to watch it. I'm sure if they played it, they would really enjoy it. But
yeah,
maybe watching it, I get it.
Yeah. And anyway, we're going to jump into some football. I know baseball is going on right now, but we like to talk more about our fantasy football going into next season. And I know that a lot of news has happened over the last week and a half. And we're going to touch on a few of these news articles that popped up. One being the biggest one is Jordan Howard being traded to Philadelphia for a 6th-round pick with a possible 5th-round pick. So what do you take out of that when you first read it or first hear it? And then what do you think going to the Eagles, Ryan?
I feel like if teams knew that they could have got Jordan Howard for a couple deflated footballs, I think they would have been all over it. So I just feel a 6th-round pick, possibly a 5th, sure. I mean, that's still a steal for Jordan Howard. He's a potential bell cow running back.
Yeah.
I know he's more old school and he's not flashy, but he moves the chains and he gets it done, honestly. I don't see what's wrong with Jordan Howard. I like him as a player, and honestly, like, it would have been nice for the Lions to pick up Jordan Howard if they were going to go, because they just recently signed C.J. Anderson, and if they were going to go sign C.J. Anderson, why not trade a 6th-rounder for Jordan Howard?
Yeah, and Jordan Howard only has 3 seasons, and he's 24 years old. What a younger running back. I know he really can't catch the ball, but being a bell cow, he's been above 250 rushes every year. Last year was the first year that he hasn't had 1,000 yards rushing. but he still had his career high of 9 touchdowns. He just seems like that downhill rusher. He's a young guy, and he still has legs. So to trade
He
him
just
for
doesn't
nothing,
fit the system over there in Chicago. I feel that's why they kind of went away with it. Tariq Cohen.
Yeah,
They want to
Tariq
use
Cohen.
him like Tyreek Hill. That's how because Nagy had Tyreek Hill, so now he came along and saw Tariq Cohen, and he's like, okay, I like this guy. We're gonna implement him into the offense a little more, and you could see they did that as the year went on last year.
Yeah,
And it did help their offense. So their offense is different. Maybe they don't need the pounder. You know what I mean? So I would feel like Jordan Howard would only help Trubisky though, because he's not the most accurate quarterback. So you kind of need that run game.
yeah.
How do you feel about like Tariq Cohen taking over as like the lead guy though? Like even running the rock on the first 3 downs or something? Or do you think they're going to draft maybe someone?
I think they're definitely
like
going
a
to pick
pre-running
somebody up, but Tariq Cohen is possibly going to turn into that high tempo offense that you look at Kansas City has, and they don't have like Damian Williams isn't that big of a guy. He's more of a smaller guy too. That's going to be a lot in the passing game. The only problem,
Mahomes can sling the rock though.
That's what I was going to say.
Trubisky can't. That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is you have an elite quarterback that's going to be one on a lot of people's lists, if not everybody's, and then you have Trubisky, who is top 50 or around 15, up in that range. He can't do it like Mahomes can do it. So that's the hard part. If Cohen's going to get some solid passing screenplays, and if Trubisky can produce in the passing to open it up, that they can run with Cohen. If Trubisky can't pick up any sort of momentum and rhythm, then Cohen's running is going to be out of the window. You can't run with somebody if they're going to they get stopped the pass easy, and then they're just going to stack the box, and there's nothing you can do as an offense.
I just feel if they don't go out and get another running back, like they should just kept Jordan Howard though, because Cohen can't carry the load either way. He's just too small.
Yeah, and then you look over at the Eagles, and then Jordan Howard comes in as the bell cow. They still got Josh Adams. They still got Smallwood. They still got Clement, and they haven't done anything. I guess Ajayi is a free agent now, but having those 4 guys, it's kind of
4 capable running backs over there. It's going to be another crowded backfield. Do you think that after they lost Ajayi, they're like, all right, we can roll with Adams, Clement, and Smallwood, and find someone out of there to break through? I thought Corey Clement was going to be pretty solid, but he had that one game that he got to start and be the bell cow because Smallwood was out, and that's just after Ajayi got hurt. But then then Clement actually got hurt in that game, and that kind of affected his whole season.
Yeah, and then you think Adams, how he was doing so well, that possibly Adams going over to the Bears might be an option. But
I think Adams should have all the opportunity in the world. That's why it was just weird seeing the Eagles trade for Howard.
So it's going to be interesting going into next year how that backfield's going to look at on both teams, actually. So you have a big hole that left the Bears, and they have nothing to fill it. And then Howard going over to the Eagles for pretty much nothing. I guess he's a young guy. If they can work with him and turn him into a more of a multi-tool running back, it could be good for the Eagles. So they got him for nothing.
That will definitely help if they could turn him into that. I just feel Jordan Howard, he can be who he is, and honestly, he'll always have a spot in the NFL until he retires. You always need someone like that, and every team could use someone like Jordan Howard. So that was why. I don't know, unless I'm seeing something different here. The trade of Jordan Howard just kind of confused me a little bit. I guess it's nice to see the Bears getting rid of him. So
yeah, it's somebody on the move, and it's gonna shake up both offenses. So that's what's fun to watch
for sure.
Okay, going into another running back that we're kind of wondering where he's going to go. It was recent, Duke Johnson. He recently requested a trade. Obviously, you have Hunt, and then you have Chubb in front of him. So he's sitting back there wondering, hey, where's my snaps going to come? And then eventually,
where's my time? I've been here for since day one. Come on, when's my time going to happen?
And I mean, even talk about his college.
Yeah, in college, like we talked about this before. He went to the University of to the U. He went to Miami, and they've produced some pretty good running backs. Edgerrin James, Frank Gore. There's a lot of names that came out of there, and Duke Johnson, I believe, is the leading rusher from that school. So he's got talent. He just never was used as a actual running back in Cleveland. He was more used as like the pass catching guy, which he can do both.
Well, yeah, and another thing you see too is the coaching changes from last year really affected how Duke Johnson played. They never used him, and
They
he kind of
phased him
just
out. Yep.
yeah, exactly, completely phased him out. I mean, he went from getting close to 70 receptions all the way down to 50. So
This is supposed to be a big year, or the past year was supposed to be big for him, fantasy wise and numbers wise, and he had the lowest amount of receptions in his career.
yeah,
And probably rushing yards. You had mentioned that he only had like 40 rushes. Is that true?
yeah, only 40 for 200
that's
yards.
terrible. That's terrible. He was being underutilized, and he deserves to have a better opportunity. So I am excited to see where he goes. Tyler, what teams do you think could use him?
Well, the teams that popped up that we're seeing here is like Houston, the Jets, and Philadelphia. And obviously Philadelphia just received Jordan Howard. I don't see that even being a possibility.
I feel
Jets,
like you can cross them off.
yeah, and then the Jets with Bell, and then you have McGuire there. Elijah McGuire
still have, so you can kind of like that's not a spot where he would want to go. I mean, maybe the Jets are interested, but Duke Johnson's probably like, oh God, please don't trade me there.
Yeah,
It's
it'd
like
be another situation.
of the same, yeah.
Exactly, and then you have the Houston Texans, and that, like we talked about,
That's ideal.
Out of those three teams, it's the most ideal. The only person he would have to battle for is you have Lamar Miller, and then you also have Deontay Foreman.
But you can't trust him. I feel. So thinking about that, I got two teams I feel that he could go to that he could even have a bigger impact on. One being, this one could be controversial, and I could see where people go the other way on it. But if you think about how they used running backs in the past, you might understand where I'm coming from. So what about the Chargers? Duke Johnson on the Chargers as like that Danny Woodhead or Darren Sproles specialist. You know what I mean? Like since he's shown he can rack up the catches, and he could spell Melvin Gordon too, just so they don't run him to the ground.
And we've seen Melvin Gordon where he starts to break down, and Duke Johnson would be a great complement of not only being a pass catcher, but he can also pound the rock. I know he's not the biggest guy, but at least he's done it before.
I feel like
he's more of a slasher. You can,
yeah, for sure. Like him going there though, being in a backup type role, if you even want to call it a backup role, because it's not really a backup role. If you go there, he's gonna produce big numbers if he goes there, even behind Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. And then who was the other team? Their second team that you had?
I got the Buccaneers. I wanted to talk about too. Who do they have there? Ronald Jones.
Yeah, they got
Peyton
Ronald
Barber?
Jones.
That's nothing. I feel Duke Johnson could jump right in and take over that spot.
That would be awesome. That'd be ideal because they would use him. I know they said that they liked Barber, and Ronald Jones hasn't turned out any sort of positive that we've seen. He was super hyped going into the draft last year, and that fizzled away in preseason when he couldn't do anything.
Well, he's talented, but he couldn't understand the playbook. So there's a lot of guys like that.
So Duke Johnson going there, I could definitely see him getting a lot of receptions, and also with Barber also getting in on that rush.
Too.
Yeah, getting in on that rush game.
Probably at minimum, he would double his rushing attempts to 80.
Yeah,
minimum.
Because last year he had 80. He was averaging around 80 from his last.
40, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, the year before that he was 80. His bad year. So
they slashed him in half on rushing attempts. After they talked, I'm pretty sure before the season they said he's going to get more reps.
Yeah, they talked him up.
Yep.
And then that's when Chubb was kind of in the back, and then all of a sudden they started using Chubb, and it's like any of the freshmen coming in. Everyone kind of sat back, and then they all of a sudden started using them in the second half, and that's when they all started producing, except for Penny, but he'll be interesting to watch.
Like, I just want to see Duke Johnson with the opportunity. I do want to see what he's capable of in the run game. I want to see that. I know he can do it in the passing game. I just want to see what he can actually do with attempts.
Yeah, and I drafted Duke Johnson last year in our 16-man league, and I was super excited to have him because I thought he was going to be a steal in the late rounds. He was like your
fourth or fifth running back. I remember that. And you were just stacking guys up. You had Chris Thompson, Duke Johnson.
That's what I was going to say, because I had him in the same category as Chris Thompson, and Chris Thompson was a beast also, but he got hurt. He kind of
He gets
got-
hurt every season. That's why
Yeah.
I remember when he broke off the 20-point games in a row. I'm like, Tyler, I offered a trade. It wasn't the best trade, but I felt it was for his value, what he was going to produce.
Well,
Then
and I
told you,
remember
once you
exactly
find
what I
mine, was like,
said.
"Dude, trade him."
I said he's kind of my guy this year, and I was hoping that he would continue.
For sure.
So, being behind Adrian Peterson, I thought that was going to be an ideal situation. But same way with Duke. I thought Duke Johnson was going to be an ideal situation as well because he was behind Hyde, and I thought that he could win more touches, but he never did. So
Yep.
I guess we'll see where he goes. We'll keep you guys posted. And then lastly, since we're going to be talking about QBs and we're going to be our top 10 QB rankings, we're going to go into Russell Wilson. He's looking for a new deal, and he said that the Seahawks have until the 15th of this month to find him a deal, or else. I mean, he doesn't
the
have
deadline that they gave him because it puts pressure on him. If
Yeah.
not, then guess what? I'm gonna keep my options open in the offseason when I'm a free agent. Obviously they'll probably franchise him, but how's
Yep.
that gonna look? That's just gonna ruin their relationship. And they
Yeah.
want the guy walking. You basically have to pay him. What has he done not to deserve it, Tyler? You got anything? Like, what has he done not to deserve a top 3 quarterback contract?
I mean,
you have an argument against it?
I don't think I have any argument towards it. He's been one of the top 5 every season, and it's hard to find that type of quarterback. So when you have one, you need to keep him on your team, and you need, just like Aaron Rodgers. When we paid Aaron Rodgers, people are mad about it, but you need to understand that finding that quarterback, you could end up like the Browns, who have 15 quarterbacks. In,
Old Browns.
You know what I
They
mean?
got the guy now. But
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
I get
And
what
they're
you're
going to pay him. Once it comes up, they're going to
for
pay.
sure.
They're going to pay Baker. So
Russell Wilson deserves the money. The dude doesn't miss games. When he gets hurt, he plays through it. He's just a gamer. He also has that like Kobe mentality. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he can take over games. He can win games. He can trust. If he's got the ball at the end of a game, it's like a Tom Brady type. He has a damn good chance of winning the game.
yeah, and he's super consistent. I mean, you can't remember the time he's had kind of slower first half of seasons, and then he kind of
Always,
picks
yep.
it up. And that's kind of the Seahawks mentality ever since they lost their defense. That's the game they're playing. They played they rushed like number 1, I think
They're
last
number
year
1 in attempts. Yeah.
in rushing attempts. So it made Russell Wilson's QBR skyrocket. His rating was a 110. It was the highest he's ever been, is a 110.9, and then he's had the most touchdowns, 35 touchdowns his entire career.
Yep. He had
And then-
35 last year.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's.
He's never missed a game. He's played 16 out of 16 games every single
He
year.
don't miss games. He gets banged up a little bit, but he fights through. So
Yeah.
he deserves the money. He does. Just like you said, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, Superman, the Packers for years. The guy deserves $50 million a year. Honestly, like.
Well, and then you look at it too. Like, I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers' stats side by side with Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers really started to pick up his pace right around that 30-year-old mark. He was like 29 when he had his huge season.
Yep.
And then now you have Russell Wilson, 29, 30 this year. He could be just turning the corner into continued success. You could pay him for 5 more years, just like how Aaron Rodgers has been going. And it's a deal. You look 5 years into the future, players are getting paid instead of asking for $33 million, are asking for
He'll be up
close
to
to
about
40.
38, 40. Yeah, so he'll be right. He'll be like a top 10 paid. The thing is, Russell Wilson to me, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. Just overall quarterback in the league. People can argue it, but I hate the Seahawks, and I see the talent. So I don't want to I'm not like a homer or anything because I don't even like the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, and it just kind of just goes out to the people that are a little upset with paying a quarterback that much, especially when it's on your home team. But you need to look at it as, where else would you go? Are you drafting a if you're not going to pay him now, and they're going to franchise tag him maybe this year or next year, you better
They would franchise him and trade him. That's what they would have to do.
Yeah, because they could franchise him for 30, and then it just continues to go up absurdly. If you franchised him 3 years in a row, he'd be making $54 million on the third year.
Yep.
So I think it comes down to you paying Russell Wilson and then you focusing on the rest of your team. Build up your
Basically,
defense
they
again.
have to pay Wilson. That's the thing. Oh, that's how they had that such good defense in the past because Russell Wilson was
because
making
of how
no
low
money.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's making under $1 million base salary, and they got the stack defense. Now it's going to be the other way around. How are they going to be able to draft on defense to make up for it?
Exactly. So I guess we'll see. Well, next week he might have already got paid, but within 2 weeks we'll for sure be covering it. We'll let you guys know what's going to happen with Russell Wilson, and it's going to be interesting too to see if he ends up on either of our top 10s, which we are going to start right about now. So jumping into I guess it doesn't matter if it's really a PPR, standard, half PPR. Our top 10 list is most likely going to be the same universally. And jumping into mine and Ryan's number one, Ryan, if you want to take it away, it's pretty obvious.
I feel it should be this on everyone's list. I know it's on yours. Patty Mahomes is the definite number one.
Yeah.
There's no questions.
I mean, last year, obviously you're going to say, hey, he's going to regress.
Oh, yeah, but even him regressing from 50 touchdowns, to 42? He's still number one.
Yes. 5,000. He almost had 5,100 yards. He had the 50 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. I mean, what a PPR machine. The guy comes out. He did work last year, and I only see it moving forward. What do you think with Tyreek Hill if he misses majority of the season? I mean, Sammy Watkins will step up, but what do you think that does for Patrick Mahomes? Have you thought of that yet?
So that's the thing. The draft is in a month, a little less than a month. So they're going to take a receiver, you would think. Might take one pretty high, honestly.
Okay.
It does affect his numbers, but I still think there's enough there.
I think even if we hear that Tyreek Hill doesn't play for, let's say, the first 6 to 8 games, I still think Patrick Mahomes is going to be top 3, top 5. I would still put him probably top 3.
Dude, I'm still taking him I still think he's the number one quarterback. Because
okay,
so let's say that. Let's say Hill's gone for 8 games. You got him down the stretch.
Yeah,
that's where you want him. That's where you want to have Mahomes at his strong point. So he'll have all of his weapons, and you draft for that. So he's still going to put up numbers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree that he would still put up numbers, and that's why he's top 3.
Quarterback. So my number 2 is Andrew Luck, and that's who I believe is the only other quarterback, if Hill were to miss games, is possibly the number 1 guy.
Well, and then for my number 2, I have Andrew Luck as my number 3.
Okay.
So, and then I have Aaron Rodgers as my number 2.
All right, so we flip-flop that. I have A-Rod at 3. So I have Luck 2, Aaron Rodgers 3. You have Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck.
Yep. So, and I think that's the tier. Close. I think those 3 guys are on a tier of their own when it comes to quarterbacks.
I agree.
And you could put Mahomes and then any sort of Rodgers Luck. I
feel Mahomes, Luck, Rodgers, honestly, say they're all healthy and they have all their weapons at the end of the year, any one of them could finish 1, 2, or 3, and it would not surprise me. So, like, if Mahomes finished 3rd behind Luck and Rodgers or Rodgers and Luck, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, and
it's very possible.
And just in context, too, Pat Mahomes is going in the 2nd round, probably mid-2nd round, which is kind of crazy. I know that's where Aaron Rodgers was going when he had his streak. And then you have Rodgers and Luck that are right in the 4th round, about mid to late 4th round for those 2 guys.
I want to say one thing here. Patty Mahomes will not be on any one of my fantasy football teams this year unless I get him on a cheap trade deal. That's the only way. I'm not taking him in the 2nd round. There's no way I'm taking a quarterback there.
And we're only projecting next season for how well we think they're going to play and where they're going to end up. This is a top 10. It's not where we're going to be drafting these guys. I won't have Mahomes unless I keep him as one of my keepers. I won't have Mahomes because I had him last year on my keeper league and I could keep him for like the last round pick. But I have so many players to pick from. I'd have to go over that in a different one.
Yeah, this is our top 10 list, and honestly, I don't plan on having probably any of the top 6 people I talk about even on my team because it's just they're going too early.
Yep, and anything before like the 7th round, I would say that's 8 and beyond.
Too. Nope, I agree.
So, all right, Patty Mahomes is the number 1, and then you want to talk about Andrew Luck a little bit? I'll talk with Andrew Luck. So you have him 2, I have him 3.
Yeah, we can talk about Andrew Luck. I just feel we do need to talk about Andrew Luck. What he did great last year, and that's coming off of early in the season. They were worried about his arm strength, and they're bringing in who was it? Brissett came in and throw the Hail Mary, and it was just like there was a lot of questions about him. There was some doubters, and Andrew Luck halfway through the year just turned it on. He came out and said his arm is 100%. and good to go. And he proved it. The guy made all the throws. He made every throw he used to be able to make, and I just see him getting better this year. He's got another year under his belt with that repaired shoulder, and I just feel that he's going to be a dominant player. He's got weapons. He's got Ty. He's got Ebron. They brought in Funchess, I believe, for the red zone. They still got Charles Hines. They got Rogers, and they got that Pascal as well. I mean, they got weapons. Not that Rogers and Pascal are anything special, but they're guys, and they put up decent numbers last year.
Yeah, and I like to point out, too, he played all 16 games. He was 16 of 16. He put up 39 touchdowns, just one away from his amazing season in 2014 when he had 2,700 yards and 40 touchdowns. This year he had about 4,600 yards and 39 touchdowns. So he is right there in the peak of his career was almost last year. So if that's not telling you something, I mean, he's 29 years old. He's still a young guy. He's younger than...
he's an elite quarterback.
Exactly.
Simple as that. He's an elite quarterback.
I mean, he had 15 interceptions last year, but
he's going to throw some picks. That's the thing with Andrew Luck. He's going to take chances here and there. So,
and he was under pressure.
Yeah. Well, they just finally got a decent offensive line last year with them taking that offensive lineman from Notre Dame in the 5th overall. That was huge. He's actually probably the best lineman guard in the game. So that was big.
So we're both fans.
The line's only going to get better.
And we're both fans of Andrew Luck. And I know we're both fans of Aaron Rodgers as a hometown guy. So talk about Aaron Rodgers. He's had a great career as a Green Bay Packer. He's turning 35 years old. He's 35 right now. And he's kind of coming off a 6-9 record last year. It was a little disappointing, but it's surprising to think that the greats, whenever they have a bad year, it's still a good year compared to...
Huge. Do you know how many teams would have taken Aaron Rodgers last year? Just with his numbers?
Ryan, let me take a guess on how many interceptions he threw last year. What
I
would
already
you get?
know it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's only 2. That's insane. And you know what? They're both tipped. And then you know who they were too? Jimmy Graham. Both of them.
So you're talking about a guy that had a down year, but he had 4,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 2 picks. 25 touchdowns isn't a lot, but when you can combine it with 2 picks, and you had
only 2 picks,
600 attempts. I know.
That's crazy.
You'll throw that in one game. Just look at Jameis Winston.
Football when we played, dude, I was just like, all right, there's a little. I got
just
an inch.
slinging it.
That thing.
But I mean, as a Packer fan and looking at the team, you're definitely down because our defense wasn't very good. Aaron Rodgers, even with the record showing, he deserves a better team. And I think going into next year, we definitely have that defense. Our wide receivers stay the same except for Cobb going.
I like the receivers.
And I like him too. I like that he had more time to...
Let's talk about his weapons. What do you think? I mean, obviously, Devontae Adams is a top 5 receiver in the league. Yep. Jimmy Graham has to bounce back. If he doesn't, then obviously he's an easy cut. He's a big body guy, and he does have talent. It's just they got to get on the same page. MVS, dude.
Yep.
Talented as hell. That guy is someone to watch out for. I'm telling you, he is. I think he's going to be really good.
You think he's going to be in the
St. Brown too? Big guy that can catch.
You think that MVS is going to be in the slot, and then Geronimo Allison and Adams are going to be outside?
Dude, when you just mentioned Geronimo Allison, I forgot. He's like the forgotten man.
Yeah, because he got hurt.
But he's pretty good, and Aaron Rodgers likes him and trusts him. So I wonder how they're going to do that, because Adams is going to be on the outside, Allison's got to be on the outside, MVS and St. Brown in the slot. Is that what they're going to mix in and out? Probably. That's
what I'm guessing.
That's dangerous right there.
And I'm excited too because Aaron Rodgers likes the chemistry with the wide receivers, and these 2 rookies that came in, he had a whole year with them. He has a whole offseason now with them. I think MVS and St. Brown
are gain his trust, man.
Are only going to get better. So they're going to come in as like the new Cobb, how Cobb used to be when he was younger and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's drop Allison on the outside like a Jordy Nelson, and then Adams. I think the offense is going to be scary, surprisingly scary. So
I think so too. Plus a big, vastly improved defense is only going to help.
Oh my goodness.
I want to move on to number 4. I want to know who you have, because I have someone there that don't think many people do.
Okay, well, jumping into my next tier, I got my number 4 as Baker Mayfield.
Wow, I have the same. Yep, same here.
And,
Okay,
and it's
that's
and it's not
surprising.
only to jump on the hype train. A lot of people are hyping him up, but to break down the offense, break down his last year's skill, a lot of people, even though, okay, sure, Baker was good last year, but nobody's really looking into his stats. And if you would have played a whole 16 games, he was looking to be on pace to be that top 5
What were his
QB.
numbers? Do you have his numbers on hand?
Yeah, for last year. Last year's
Yeah.
numbers. Give me one sec here. I have them. Okay, so he played 13 games last year. They went 6-7. Out of you'll have to go over his options that he has for wide receivers and running back, and then
for
I'm
sure.
gonna get him.
That's where I wanted to talk about that. I feel he has the best talent around him over like any of these quarterbacks. So putting him at number 4 for me was pretty easy. I just see how can't he produce there. He's got my favorite receiver in the game, arguably the most talented, Odell Beckham Jr. He's got Jarvis Landry. He's got David Njoku. He's got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. I'm sure I'm missing guys too. He's just stacked with talent on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
So him not being able to produce in like a top 5 fantasy quarterback fashion, I feel like it's not impossible and it could happen. He's definitely top 10, but his ceiling, I feel it could be number 4. It could probably even go a little higher, honestly, for if you want to talk about ceiling.
And then you're looking at last year. Last year he ended up as QB 16 to end the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he had 3 more
that
games,
does nothing for me, honestly. Like I
Yeah.
don't care where he rated last year. He
4
showed
more
me enough.
games.
He can make all the throws. He's a confident dude. He's competitive as hell, and he wants to win.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so
throw that all together.
So his stats, though, for 13 games started, and this is minusing 4 games. So let's say 4 games off the table. He still had 3,700 yards and 27 touchdowns.
More
so
touchdowns than A-Rod.
And then 14 interceptions, so a lot more picks than A-Rod. But
For
that's
sure.
with...
He's a gunslinger, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
looking
without
at his...
Odell.
Exactly. So we have Baker pretty high. Offense is looking great. Baker's looking great, and he's only going to take a step forward with his new offense. And then the year after that, I see him taking another step forward. I think he's going to be a force to reckon with, and he's going to definitely be the face of the Browns for a long time. So moving on then, who do you have for your number 5, Ryan?
My number 5 is going to be Deshaun Watson.
And that's exactly who I have. I have number 5 as Deshaun Watson. And the consensus, just wanted to throw it out there, the consensus is Deshaun Watson's going at the round 5 and Baker's going in round 6. So people are drafting Deshaun before Baker Mayfield. And I don't know. It's kind of reminding you of the season last season, how people are drafting Deshaun Watson as more than Aaron Rodgers. He was the one, right?
He was kind of like on the Patty Mahomes kind of hype, though. I feel like Deshaun Watson was going in the late 2nd round last year. No, I could be wrong.
Yeah. He was the first quarterback off the board.
Early. Okay. Makes sense then.
And I mean, he put up a good season. I think
slow.
he saved himself.
Slow,
Yeah.
but he saved his year. He had a pretty good second half. I actually had him on my championship team. Traded for him at the deadline.
Yeah, he did. And he's got the Hopkins, of course, the best wide receiver in the game now.
Don't forget about Will Fuller. He'll be
got
coming
Will
back,
Fuller.
hopefully
Yeah,
healthy.
yeah. He'll take a couple steps on the field and he'll be down again.
Yeah, it's
Then
possible. Yeah, you're probably right. That's so sad.
you got Kiki QT.
Yeah, he was hurt all last year, but he flashed his talent when he played.
I'm thinking you're talking about a team right here that probably needs to get a wide receiver. Someone who can play next to Hopkins. I know last year they got Demaryius Thomas, and he's going.
I would
now,
love to be that receiver that goes next to Hopkins, so I can get that one-on-one coverage all day.
It'd be amazing. Talk about like having your Landry next to your Odell, having your Hopkins and whoever. I mean, Will Fuller's a monster. He had monster games.
Good. He's got great chemistry with Deshaun.
And then he just gets hurt too much. That's the problem.
I think they need to find a field-stretching tight end.
That'd be nice. I mean, geez, who's their tight end right now? Jordan Thomas? No, Ryan Griffin?
That's Panthers. No. It's kind of an athletic dude. I forgot his name, honestly. He had a couple decent games in fantasy. That's all I remember at the end of the year. He's
Okay.
nothing special. I just don't. I
Yeah.
can't even think of his name.
The guy that had the third most receiving yards on the Texans last year was Ryan Griffin, who was the tight end.
Yeah, he was the earlier tight end.
Yeah. So
He was the third in receptions.
I know you have look at this. You have Hopkins at almost 1,600 yards, and then
Yep.
Will Fuller at 500, and then Griffin
Yeah,
at
he missed, like,
300,
half the year.
QT at 300.
Find that tight end. What's the other tight end? Do you see it on there? Are you?
Nope, I'm only looking at Griffin and Thomas.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
So Deshaun
Thomas.
Watson,
Wait,
I
Thomas?
could. It's possible, but
Maybe it was Thomas. All right. Slipped in my mind. Exactly. It's irrelevant.
so drafting him this year, round 5, it'd still be rough. Like
I'm not
we said,
taking him there. If he dropped to 7, maybe. Nah, I wouldn't even. I'm not.
yeah,
I'm
there's
sorry,
still
I'll take
guys that you could take.
it. I'm not. I'm not taking.
So this
him
is
there.
rounding off. So this is where me and you kind of differ because we're going to jump into 6 through 10, and we're
Yeah.
going to kind of mix players around here. So for my 6, I
Knock
have
out 2 in
Jared.
a row here. Who you got? Say you're 6 and 7.
Okay, so kind of that second tier is Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, and then I have Jared Goff. And Jared Goff at 6, and then jumping into my next tier, which is going to be 7 through 10. Number 7 is Drew Brees. So I have Jared Goff and then Drew Brees. And I kind of like
Okay.
Jared Goff. I know he's a little bit further down in your list, so
Yeah.
I could talk about Jared Goff just a little bit. He has some great weapons still going over into next year, and they didn't lose anybody on offense for weapons-wise. And Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, both 1,200-yard guys. Todd Gurley, depending on if he's banged up or not, Todd Gurley's been getting a lot of receptions. He was at 60 last season. And then you got Cooper Kupp for
I was
your.
just gonna say. I was hoping you were gonna forget Cooper Kupp.
No.
So I could talk about him.
Yes, Cooper Kupp, the end zone.
Actually,
threat.
let's not talk about Cooper Kupp because he single-handedly beat me last year. You had him when he put up his 49-point game.
What a beast.
So dumb. So dumb.
And then you got Josh Reynolds, another wide receiver that filled
I
in.
forgot about
He was all
Reynolds.
right.
He's got some flash in him.
So, looking at their offense and then looking at Jared Goff's numbers, I know at the end of the year, it's easy to forget because of how he burned so many teams in the playoffs. He was so poor of a quarterback, it was frightening. But
In the
during
fantasy
this,
playoffs?
yeah,
Yeah.
because he fell off the edge. And then I know at the end of the season when Wentz wasn't playing very good, they kind of were side by side as like two people that were killing teams. But his yardage was still up there, 4,600 yards, almost 4,700 yards. He had 32 touchdowns and only 12 picks. Still a lot, his most picks he's had in a season. But just a
Well,
solid.
I feel let's go into that a little bit with most picks in a season. Do you think that has anything to do with Todd Gurley being hurt? I think so.
You think that 12 picks is because of Todd Gurley being hurt?
Yeah, he kind of had a pass more and maybe trying to do throws that he's not used to making and forcing a little bit.
And that could be a good reason because Todd Gurley going out made
Missed
him have
almost
to
half the year, no?
had to force it.
6 games.
Yeah. So and then you think about it, this year Todd Gurley he might not be at 100%. They might bring in an extra running back, do a little bit more of a committee if Gurley's hurting. So it'd be interesting to see how Goff does. I know I'm not going to have him on any of my teams, but this is kind of where I think he's going to be as long as the offense stays healthy. And
as you guys
he
can
continues.
tell, we're not QB guys come fantasy football. You can find great value later on, and just a couple guys like I think Derek Carr. He's like the 19th overall quarterback. Derek Carr. You got Josh Allen down there. You got Dak Prescott. Even Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to put numbers up in Miami. And Matt Stafford is in the it's just you got guys all over that can produce. The old trusty like Phillip Rivers. So
I mean,
to
don't
me,
shy
I
away
just
from
don't
Big
wanna-
Ben either. You know,
Big Ben too. Jimmy Garoppolo bounced back. You're like, what is he going to do? There's quarterbacks all over the place. For me, it's not wasting draft capital on these guys in the top. Let's just say 5 rounds. Let's go there. When you can get that second running back or your first guy off the bench, which could be another receiver or running back or whatever. Like if you want to take a tight end, even though I'm not a tight end guy either, unless there's great value. but just quarterbacks I tend to stay away from until later in the draft. And honestly, it works for me. I do have a lot of championships under my belt by going off these strategies, and there's no reason to shy away from it if it works for me at least.
Yeah, and so saying that same strategy, me going into last year, I guess I'll talk about my next guy that I had was Drew Brees. I drafted Drew Brees. I'm pretty sure I got him in like the 9th or 10th round.
You did. You got him late.
And it's kind of one of those things where you put your hands on it. It's like, look at the offense Drew Brees has. Look at the season that
I feel like that's a situation where you were like, I don't want to take him, but I have to.
Yeah, and he turns out to just be a stud, like normal. Yep. I traded him at the right time. I traded him for Matt Ryan at the right time. And, I mean, just adding Jared Cook to the offense, and
only helps.
You have Michael Thomas, and then you have Kamara, and you don't have Ingram anymore. I mean, you have Murray on the team, but
Tavius Murray is probably going to do the same thing as Ingram did.
Yeah, but probably just a little bit worse.
Miss a step there, yeah, maybe just a little bit, but it's not going to be really noticeable.
So, I think he's going to jump into another good role this upcoming year. Who knows if he's going to retire, but I think he's going to continue to produce. He missed the 4,000 yardage mark last year. I think that's due to he had a few poor games down the stretch, but he's going to be putting up touchdowns. He's going to be a great quarterback that you can kind of plug in and not have to worry about. And
you don't have to worry about until he has his bye. That's the type of quarterback he is. You don't have to worry about the position at all.
And last year, let me see where he ended up. So Drew Brees ended up at 8 last year, just behind Goff. So
that's where I have him right now. So you went over here 6, 7, 8. Wait, you had Drew Brees at 8?
Nope. I had Drew Brees at 7. So I did my 6, 7. Let's see what your 6, 7 is.
My 6, 7 is Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson.
All right.
Now, Russell Wilson is controversial, but we've already talked about him. You know, I do like him as a quarterback. Fantasy quarterback, he does. He's like a second half type guy like Keenan Allen. So you can count on Russell Wilson to dominate down the stretch. His weapons aren't the greatest, but he puts up touchdowns, and he also has that ability to run. I just feel like he's a trustworthy quarterback. And then I don't want to skip Matt Ryan because I actually have him ahead of Russell Wilson here. So yes. Matt Ryan is number 6, and he's got weapons all over the board. So
my goodness.
He just puts up numbers. I don't think he's the most talented quarterback, but he puts up numbers for fantasy.
Yes.
At least last year he did.
And he's another guy where you can kind of plug him in and just let him go. He plays in the dome. So just like how Brees, I guess that's a good way of saying it. They're both playing in domes, and when they're at home, it's a different ball game. So looking at Matt Ryan,
you can count on them shootouts though. The Drew Brees Matt Ryan shootout twice a year.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fantasy gold.
Oh my God, does not disappoint. Just like the Goff Mahomes shootout.
Yep. Oh, that was it reminded me of that. Yeah, that was fun to watch.
So Atlanta, they got Julio Jones. They got rid of Sanu, but Calvin Ridley, he's going to take a step up. Hooper, Coleman's gone, but Ito Smith was right behind him in receptions, 32 to 27. So Ito Smith's going to eat up those receptions, and you're going to have a healthy Devontae Freeman coming back. And I kind of put Freeman as a slight sleeper.
But he can be pretty good. I think he can be pretty good.
So keep an eye on Matt Ryan. Keep an eye on Devontae Freeman. I would love to draft Matt Ryan again this year. He's going around round 8, and I have him as my number 8. So, and then I feel like Russell Wilson as my 9.
I feel like he'll drop in our league to like 10, and that's I might have to take him there.
And this is kind of the mock drafts that are going on in a league where people know what they're doing. A lot of these rounds are going to drop like 2, I would say.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So Matt Ryan around 10. Russell Wilson's going around 6, but I see him going towards the same area as like Drew Brees and Matt Ryan. So you have Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson. I just was going to say I have Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson as my 8 and 9. So now that we talked about them,
to really talk about them much. I mean, we already ran over them.
So who's your 8 and 9?
My 8 and 9 is Drew Brees, who you talked about, and my 9. This one people might not agree with, but I love the upside. Jameis Winston.
Okay. Let's talk about Jameis Winston.
He's got Mike Evans, and we had a segment on Chris Godwin last week. How they wanted to use him like Fitzgerald, and he's got an athletic freak at tight end, and in OJ Howard. So I feel like his weapons are there. They sling the rock a lot as of right now. Still no run game.
Yeah.
So it's only a recipe for passing the ball just as much as last year. So that's fantasy numbers.
I love the fantasy upside that Jameis Winston holds. I mean, you look at how Fitzpatrick jumped in.
I want to cut you off real quick. Again, they get the shootout. They get Atlanta and New Orleans twice. So
yeah, and looking at the
fantasy numbers, baby.
Looking at the QBs, their defenses too. If they have a poor defense, it only spells good for the quarterback, because if you're playing from behind, let's look at Patrick Mahomes. If you're playing from behind, I'm sorry, not playing from behind, but playing in a shootout where your defense is giving up points, it only means that the game's going to continue to extend. You don't want to get to a point where all of a sudden your running backs are running the ball in the third and fourth quarter just to burn time.
Tom Brady.
Exactly. He's a good quarterback, but he's sitting back and letting the rest of his team do the dirty work. So Jameis Winston is going to be awesome. And Fitzpatrick, kind of how he was last year when he first started off, all I see is the same scheme, but the entire year with Winston.
Where do you have Jameis? You have him on your top 10 or no? Or
so you have him at 9. I have him at 10. Yeah. So I kept him in my top 10 as well. And I could see him doing better than most. I could see him up there with like Deshaun Watson as when he ends his season.
I feel he could finish the 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he finished behind Baker or something like that.
So Jameis Winston, sneaky. He's going around round 9, so pretty much you're going to get him for free at the end. And I see tremendous upside. So who do you have for your number 10 then to end this top 10 out?
Number 10 is going to be Jared Goff, who we had talked about.
Okay.
I do like his upside. And I think if Gurley is healthy, which, I mean, that's a big if.
Yeah.
Goff definitely has more upside than the 10th overall.
But you're kind of hedging it a little bit.
That did go into my ranking. I feel because you could tell he struggled a little bit more without that run game, which what quarterback wouldn't? You know, he was used to that. Todd Gurley has that. Is it arthritis?
Yeah. It was. So he had his injury on what was his left knee, and then arthritis in his right knee.
Okay. So yeah, that's not good. So, well, you have to keep an eye on that with Gurley. Like I said, I'm with the mock draft that we did. Remember the 2-round mock draft? What was that? 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Okay, so I said Gurley. If Gurley falls around 2, like first pick, a second round, he's a must take just because what he can do. But for me, I'm probably staying away from Gurley first round.
Yep, and that only shows then if Gurley's injured, Jared Goff could fall even further. Yep. I mean, I have him up there as if his team is the same as last year, but he's reality,
still very capable quarterback. Even if Gurley's out, I mean, he's still going to be a good fantasy quarterback. It's just I feel it limits his ability as being maybe a possible top 5.
Okay, and you had some notable mentions for like 11 on. A few notable mentions, of course, would have been Big Ben. You got Kirk Cousins was kind of hyped last year. He showed his colors. Phillip Rivers is Mr. Consistent.
Yep,
and then kind of a one that we haven't talked about, Cam Newton.
I was going to say, I literally was just about to say his name if you didn't mention him. But yeah, Cam Newton is always a guy you want to keep an eye on. I feel like his floor is like, 15? And his ceiling could be 40.
Top, yeah.
Depends, like in points per game and stuff. So he's going to he has his huge games that can win you weeks.
Yeah, and if he comes back healthy, you could definitely tell that his shoulder.
That's the thing, healthy. Got to see where he's at.
So Cam Newton's out there. Mitch Trubisky, he had a really good run in the middle of the season. Looking down at like Matt Stafford, Josh Allen, kind of some good.
Look at Stafford. They got him going around projected like around 14. I'm all over that. You know what though? I see they got like Lamar. They got Lamar Jackson around 12. I think that would be my target.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. That's the 2 I would probably take around that. I would take them both, and hopefully one of them explodes.
Exactly. I mean, Josh Allen, you could get for free just as kind of like your second quarterback, and plug him in until he doesn't do well, or if he doesn't do well, he's easy enough to just drop and pick up your next guy.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he plays, he puts up numbers. He might throw 5 picks or whatever, but my league is only my main league is only -1 for picks, so I'll take that. You take account in settings too. I mean, if you're playing in a league, you're getting like -3 or -4 for interceptions. These ratings are going to change a little bit, but we're just kind of going off the standard 4 points for touchdown, -2 for interceptions. That's where we're gonna go off with our rankings here. But if your league settings are different, you got to kind of make your own adjustments.
Yeah, and I got one question, one quarterback we haven't talked about that people are probably wondering, and that is Carson Wentz. What do you think of Wentz going into the?
He's a potential top 10 quarterback. I think if he's healthy, he's in the top 10.
He gets a bump. I mean, he's got a few good targets out there.
He's got some guys to throw to.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of. He's got the rushing game now with Jordan Howard, so that's going to burn some clock out. 4 running
backs: Alshon Jeffrey, Ertz. They still got Aguilar. Is there another notable receiver? I don't think so.
Yeah. It's a guy that just came from Tampa Bay, and I'm totally blanking. Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson went back to Philly.
He just came back to Philly. So,
oh, man, he's got weapons.
So
Wentz is sneaky. If he can stay healthy and that back holds up, and whatever else is wrong with that guy.
I don't even know what their backup is now since Foles is gone. So
they got
Wentz
Nate
better
Sudfeld?
stay.
Sudfeld, I think. Yeah, he played last year a little bit.
So yeah, just some notables there. Of course, there's other ones.
Basically, there's quarterbacks all over the board, man. It's just not worth taking these guys in the top 5 rounds. There's quarterbacks all over the board. Plus, you could play the waiver wire and just pick up. You could stream quarterbacks. It's honestly not a terrible strategy, depending on how the guys in your league do. They hoard QBs, then you can't do that. But
or if you play in a larger
pretty
league,
good players, they're going to hold 1 QB on their team unless they have a huge upside guy that they're just waiting on, which is rare. But other than that, you should be able to stream QBs all year.
Exactly. And one more person I wanted to bring up just to mention from last year, Jimmy Garoppolo. I remember before he got injured how he was hyped. I think he was hyped as like one of the top 5 quarterbacks to come off the board, if not the 1 or 2.
Right.
And
he's definitely a top 7 pick last year because I know he got drafted in our league over Matt Ryan and a few other notables, so he was hyped.
So he's another one that's going where Big Ben's going, kind of at the bottom. If you pick him up and all of a sudden he has a phenomenal season, it's a steal. So don't forget those guys down there, and we'll have a whole segment coming up, maybe when it comes closer to draft time. Just look at these people that are drafting these guys so early and how much potential they're wasting on their roster. And hopefully you see that. You let the people drop to you, and then you pick up maybe quarterbacks at the end unless you get a great deal. So that's kind of it for quarterbacks. Any last thoughts, Ryan, before we close the show out?
Just kind of talking about that, though. You don't want to reach in the draft. Say it's your favorite player or something like that. You don't want to reach and waste a nice draft spot just because it's your favorite player. Let them go.
Yeah,
let
or
that
a hometown
guy take them. Exactly. Let them take them and attempt to trade them after they had a couple down games or something.
Yeah.
Know
your audience.
Throwing your draft away. We had a guy last year that took Aaron Rodgers 3rd overall. Really stupid. He knew it was dumb, but he wanted Aaron Rodgers, but he knew the guy at the last pick in the draft was going to take him because he's the biggest homer ever. So he literally wasted his 3rd overall pick and took Aaron Rodgers. That's just a huge blunder. That literally is so stupid. You can't do that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're playing blackjack and somebody hits on 17 or 18. It's so silly.
Damn near comparable. That's horrible. Like, what are you doing? That's what everyone said. Like, what are you doing? So don't do that. Let your favorite players, if you are in the spot to get them, take them. Like if there's a coin flip between him or let's say if it's a couple different guys in that tier, like if they're in the same tier, go ahead and take the guy that you prefer as like say your favorite player. Go ahead and do that, but don't reach like a madman and ruin your draft. That's my advice on that.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show. We appreciate you listening into our fantasy news. We appreciate you listening into our QB's top 10 early outlook on our QB top 10. And then also don't forget to follow us. We have our main website. Go to Spotify. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, TuneIn. We just got in on Google Play, and the only one I'm waiting on is iTunes. So any of those that you listen to, make sure if you're listening to drop in, leave us a review, leave us a rate, and comment. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate it. It's super easy if you're listening already, just to scroll down, click on it, and let us know. Also for Twitch and Twitter, our Twitch, we have my name is Tyler, and it goes under BowTYz, BowTYz. And then Ryan, give them your Twitch handle real quick.
My Twitch handle is The Dynasty. It's going to be the letter 3 _, Dynasty. That's DYNASTY.
Awesome. And then the Twitter is at Ryan Elke, RYANOELKE1. And mine is at TJonson07, TJONSON07. We appreciate everyone tuning in, and we just like to say, go Brewers.
Oh, dude, that's how I wanted to end it too. Go Brewers, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.